Welcome to the Practice You podcast. My name is Elena Brower. Together, we'll explore and enjoy content and conversations around mastering transitions in our relations, our wellness, our careers, our families, and especially in our missions and visions. You are invited to learn and love and listen with me. Welcome to Practice You. In this episode, I get to sit down with my dearest friend, Bogard. She's also a yoga and meditation teacher. She's also had her own business in which she trains teachers, Gayatri. She and I met at the temple at Burning Man in 2012. It seems so much longer than that. She's one of the few teachers with whom I will co-teach. Her articulation is one of the reasons. Her spirit, the way she brings so much intelligence to the most ephemeral matters. Her wisdom goes so far beyond my intellect, and I feel like she carries very ancient willingness with her. She's such an exceptional friend to me. So I'm looking forward to sharing her with you. We start by going into my bookshelf, as we often do, and pulling a book that calls to us. In this case, it happened to be Mark Nepo, Things That Join the Sea and Sky. And instead of planning for a certain poem, she opens the book and sees where she lands. And here is exactly where she landed, and here is Bogard starting us out reading the poem we found.
Eternal two-step. What if it's all been misread? What if our insistence on primacy over each other only makes us lonely? What if the clouds we avoid float above our knotted way simply to cry for us, and it's their tears that make everything grow? But all the suffering you say, all the ways we are so cruel, I have no answer, only this. The instant our life is conceived, our death is written. The instant a darkness descends, the light that will dissipate it is waiting. The two-step that cradles our lives is unseeable, unstoppable. Like surf that rushes in and undertows out, we are made and unmade. The instant we love or suffer, some aspect of the harmony opens, and what has always been comes together, only to come apart. It renews our fear of dying and stirs our want to live. Death is everywhere today.
Everywhere today. It's so strange.
Is it primacy or primacy?
I think it's primacy. I like the way you said it, but it could be primacy. I'll find out. I like not knowing. It's fine with me.
Death is everywhere.
But wait, how about this line? First of all, that was Mark Nepo on page 33 of Things That Join the Sea and Sky. How about this line? The instant we love or suffer, some aspect of the harmony opens. And what has always been comes together, only to come apart.
Two-step.
The two-step. The eternal two-step. And by the way, I've had this book for years. 2 years. I've never seen it.
Really?
Never read it. I've made copies of like half the book. Never seen it.
Veils are thin.
The veils are thin. This is such a sweet privilege to be here with my very best friend. I have tears in my eyes. This is actually the first podcast I'm recording, but it really won't be the first one that I release. And it will determine what the first one feels like, and probably every one after. So this is no small thing. We're at home in my house in New York. One of us is a little bit jet lagged.
That's me.
And
it just makes my heart more open.
Yeah, exactly. Some harmony is coming together when we're jet lagged. And apparently we need to know about molecular hydrogen.
Yeah.
In any case, this is about collecting difficult moments. And I think one of the greatest things you said as we were talking about this just before we started was the whole idea of being a little girl or a little kid and collecting things and the idea of collecting difficult moments as something that we treasure, little treasures that we collect, and we put them in special places. And I remember when I was a kid, I used to sit and, dust off every single little Hello Kitty thing and every single little figurine again and again and again, because I was uncomfortable with certain situations in my house. There were many. Nothing was too dire, so you don't have to feel bad for me if you're listening. But as a kid becomes uncomfortable with things were uncomfortable, and that's how I would get through my discomfort, was rearrange my little things. And to think, as you said, about collecting difficult moments like little treasures. And I thought, anyone listening to this, my intention is for you, for this month's theme, is for you to feel like you are validated in the real challenges that come your way, and you shouldn't try to avoid them. Nay, in fact, you should try and gather them up like fuel, like food. And I was thinking to ask you first, what difficult moments you've collected in the past little while, if you care to talk about any of them or one of them, and start us off, because I'm going to give the listener an assignment to write out one of the difficult moments or a few of them and start to see where the gold is, like where the treasure is and what's valid there.
Okay, well, I'm so happy to talk to you. You're always my favorite conversation.
Love you.
Yeah. And I think that piece about collecting difficult moments and first tying it to a child's view is so important, because, the imagination of a child, it doesn't yet have the world impressing meaning on things. So something happens, we find a toy, we get hurt, somebody likes us, somebody doesn't, somebody yells at us, somebody loves us, and the meaning of what's occurring is entirely open to our imagination. And then all of these moments, like these treasures we collect, we make the meaning of it. So you have your Hello Kitty doll, and I have, my little stuffed animals, and they have a world all to themselves because I made it up. And then with time and with age and with, schooling and conditioning, everything starts to impress a meaning upon us that we're left, and it must mean we're unchosen. Or we don't do well at school, and it must mean we're not smart. And all of these meanings start to go out of our hands. And wow. So I love the way you're framing this notion of collecting difficult moments, because it puts it back into the world of imagination. And as soon as it's in the world of imagination, what happens to us might not be in our control and might not be that creative, but what we do with it, or the meaning we make about it, that we can reclaim creativity around it. And I don't know, I feel like I'm never not collecting difficult moments. And the one most recently, I think it's tying in this theme of childhood and adulthood. And I don't know if you remember that moment where you started to feel like the adult with your parents.
Yes, I do.
And started to parent your parents.
Yes, I do.
And so watching my parents, get older, and my dad has Parkinson's, and my mom is an eternal caregiver, I think the difficult moment is trusting that everybody has their own path, and it's not mine to caretake, and it's not mine to take on, because so much of my life I've wanted to just codependently run everybody else's experience.
Fixer.
Yeah. Pleaser.
Oh, pleaser.
Totally.
Gosh.
And I think the difficult moments are stepping back and just running my own pleasure rather than trying to please everybody, and just letting everybody have their own walk with God. That doesn't have to be me micromanaging and fixing and controlling and, codependently being weird about.
Wow.
But collecting them feels like they are exactly as they are to me, or I believe them to be sacred pieces on a treasure hunt that the Creator has left for us to reclaim ourselves, reclaim lost bits of ourselves, or our imagination, maybe just that.
Dude,
what are your difficult moments lately?
I find that I am falling in love with myself now, finally, and as such. And I have this practice that I'm doing of self-compassion. It's on my teacher's app. It's called Sanctuary. Rod Stryker's app. And this practice, I'm on day 6, and it's profound because it asks you every single day, what is it that hasn't been healed in your being? Mm-hmm. Acknowledging that there are things that haven't been healed. And then addressing them and approaching them and loving all of these aspects of you that haven't been healed and offering yourself deep, abiding compassion. Mm-hmm. And every day it feels like I thought I knew exactly what it was that hadn't been healed, but every day there's another thing that's peeling away. And I'm locating another aspect of it, another, distant piece of it. I see myself when I'm about 10, mostly, when I'm doing the meditation. And I shared this with you. I see a little girl with a little barrette on the side, a side part, and a little barrette and glasses, hoping the guy next to her in class is liking her as much as she's liking him, wishing for a little more attention from her parents. I see this part of myself, and every day I get to sort of love her a little differently and a little bit more. But as I fall in love with myself, I find I'm falling in love with everything and everybody. Mm. And it's almost like, I don't know if I should just keep growing my heart to take everything in, or if I should make clear boundaries. It's very interesting. James and I have fallen much more deeply in love now. Mm. And I think the difficulty really is finally saying, okay, this is my person for the rest of my life, even though I don't plan on ever getting married again. And really committing to myself in that, knowing that he's that for me, and committing to myself in the midst of that is such a bizarre thing, because I too have this codependent, want to fix. I'm not a pleaser, I'm a fixer. Yeah. Yeah. I'll fix it all for you. Yeah. And to not do that, and to let him have his process, and to let me have mine, and to honor both side by side rather than as one thing. I don't know, it doesn't seem like a difficult moment, but it has been the source of a lot of discussion and a lot of redefinition lately. And in the redefinition, the treasure has been that he and I are seeing each other completely new again. Mm. It's so beautiful after 4 or 5 years now.
Well, and it's so important to hear you say that, because knowing you as well as I do, and knowing your practice as strong as it is, you've been in the practice of self-love for 30 years. And when you say that, it makes me remind myself that it's never somewhere we get. It's something that we always just keep becoming.
Totally.
And that you hit a new layer and a new stride to bring more love to. And then maybe it doesn't matter who's our person, but when we're our person, monogamous to this woman, our woman,
yeah,
then
nice.
Everybody else is a beautiful addition.
That's really nice.
That notion that we'll never stop practicing self-love. But remember in that Spike Jonze movie, Her?
Oh my God, yes. Joaquin.
Yeah, and he's sitting on the step and she's just having her whole Alan Watts moment.
Yes.
And he's blown away that she can love 800 people as if they're the same person. And she says, maybe I just don't know if I'll ever stop loving more. And he can't conceive of it through his human mind. But it feels like you're in that place of not healing old self-hatred, but just expanding the capacity to love more.
Both, I think.
Yeah.
Dude, I have had moments in my life of hating myself so deeply that I wanted to die. Same. I wanted somebody to hit me.
Same.
I wanted to hit myself.
Same.
I never got into cutting or bulimia, but I thought about both.
Same. But you know what I've been wondering? Back to the little kid thing. So when Jonah was 3, I'm sure there's a moment where he said, "Mom, I hate you." And your love for him is so big that hatred could just live there. It wasn't a real hatred.
I don't think he's ever said that.
Okay. Other kids do that.
I can't recall.
He didn't ever do that?
No, I don't think so.
But I've just been wondering if my hatred doesn't have to be this opposite binary to my love. What if my self-love can be so big, it can also hold where I hate myself? So I don't need to eradicate where I hate myself.
That's nice.
Because that just doesn't seem to go away for me.
That's nice.
But it doesn't negate
right
where I'll get off my own team.
The instant we love or suffer, some aspect of the harmony opens. So beautiful. The being on your own team.
Yeah.
I was thinking to sort of bring it into the practical matter for a moment.
Yeah.
For anyone who's listening, The idea that you have this day-to-day, you have a calendar with a bunch of things on it. I've learned this from some of my colleagues in my business, and to look at what it is that's actually on your calendar against this topography of self-love, and see, do these 5 things I'm doing today, or these 3 things I'm doing today, do they all map into self-love or not? Mm-hmm. I was thinking that would be a very practical way to bring this to the ground.
Yeah.
There's almost like this hypnagogic act of scheduling things that we don't even think about. Does this serve my practice? Does this serve my business? Does this serve my heart? Does this serve any aspect of me? And how do we make sure of that? I don't know. I just feel like that's a good branch to climb.
Yeah, and if we look at it practically, when I visualize my iCal that starts to become like this.
You have to get Google Cal.
I should. Does
it
matter?
It's so much prettier.
Really?
And they just did an update. I just opened my phone and it was updated today. I was like so blessedly confused by it.
So funny. We get so stuck in our way.
Oh my God. The thing about Google, sorry to interrupt you. I'm so sorry. But so not the podcast interviewer that I want to be. But Google Cal has colors. And so you can make everything, like I have
color-coded is
doTERRA is green and personal is pink. And if I don't have something pink on the calendar every day, I'm not happy.
iCal does too.
Okay, good. I didn't know that.
But when I look at this biblical-like scripture of my iCal or Google Cal, and practically speaking, when you ask what's scheduled on there that, tends to this love, I think for me it becomes more about what I don't schedule. Like it's the blank spaces that become important to this earlier conditioning I was talking about, because for me, everything scheduled tends to be with an other for another, just with the aspect of work that we're both in. And when I don't schedule, so it's time for me to just stop and unplug from other people's stories and other people's needs.
Boom.
Then fortunately and unfortunately, everything I'm not facing just mandatorily arises. And so all of the difficult moments that I found every way to numb and distract and addict and avoid away from meet me in those blank spaces. I need like really regimented practices of not avoiding and not distracting to make sure that I don't just keep accumulating difficult moments without processing the wisdom that I can get from them. Like that perfect place where Maya Angelou will say, when you give, and when you learn, teach. I'll find that I'll just miss those moments where the difficult moments are giving all of the gold to help another or build humanity or build resilience or build character, because I get caught in my own busyness and quite honestly, not my own busyness. Sometimes my busyness is just trying to avoid myself.
Totally.
And so I need the blank space of the calendar to just stop.
How many do you have in the course of a week, let's say?
I am not as rhythmic as that. I'm more cyclical. So I'll go through feast or famine moments. Like I'll go 2 weeks with none and then 2 weeks with tons. But I don't think that's sane, so I don't recommend it. But mandatorily so, it's got to be every morning. But I think that's the gift that you and I have got with just time and some experience where we don't have to take early morning work.
No.
So the early morning is really important for me so that I get to determine the energy I run in the day rather than clients or friends or the news running my energy of the day. And then something in the middle where I get to touch in with like one of my people or somebody that fills me and feeds me and that I love so deeply, so that throughout the day there's these touchstones of what matters. Right.
Yeah. The early morning thing is critical for me also. And some mornings it's like a 5-minute sitting, although now I'm doing the self-compassion, so it's I think it's a 10, 11-minute sitting, but then I do my Nadi Shodhana first, I'll my little mantras, and then I do that.
What's your favorite way of avoiding your difficult process? We know what ours used to be.
Oh, my business, by far.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best because here's the funny part.
It's an abundant distraction.
It's an abundant distraction that actually helps me help others. So it's the perfect foil to me actually learning more about myself and being alone. But having just gotten back from my 2-week foray in Costa Rica, which is happening every December, I see now how important it is. I have spent hours by myself and going for a run on the beach and listening to music and then dancing by myself on the beach and then going to get a juice and then doing a little bit of work or not, laying on my bed, looking up at the ceiling, looking out at the mountains. And I got so much insight as to how I want to show up here. Yeah. Came home. I get off the elevator. James was out. Jonah was here alone for a couple of hours on his own. And he comes out. He had been texting me to see when I was coming home. So I'm like, he's following my bags. And then I'm in the car. And he's standing in the hallway. It's like 11:30 at night on a Saturday. He's standing in the hallway with all of his tall glory. He's like 2 inches taller than when I left 2 weeks ago. His voice is deeper. And he's got his arms up, big man arms open, just waiting for me to show up. Mom, I love you. I missed you. 12 years old. He's really strong. And he puts his arms around me. And I go, dude, I had this realization. I'm actually afraid to say this, but I'm just going to say it anyway. I had this realization. I love you so much, and I realize that I have friends of mine and colleagues of mine who have children with whom Jonah doesn't necessarily resonate. I realize that I've been pushing these friendships on him, not that they're even living close, but pushing the idea of him liking these kids whom I like, with whom I resonate deeply. They could be mine. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, really apropos of absolutely nothing in the moment, but suddenly there it was, because I had done so much thinking on several different topics. I said, Jonah, I just want you to know, from now on, I'm just going to let you be who you are. You don't have to like my friends' kids, because I said so. You don't have to be anything you don't want to be. You can play Fortnite if you like, within reason, within boundaries of time. I love your friends. I don't want you to change. I don't want you to be anyone else. And he basically melted into my arms. Yeah. First he looked at me very quizzically, like, what the fuck are you saying? Why are you telling me all this right now? You just got off the plane. I love you. And I think it actually softened him to such an extent that we have had such a nice few days. And he feels seen.
You give him so much permission to be himself.
But I have collected many difficult moments with him.
Yeah.
He and I both have collected many difficult moments with each other. And I'm just realizing that that's what I have to do.
What do you think is, when a difficult moment is occurring, what is the first methodological step that you go to right away? Is it to soften? Is it to forgive fast? Is it to...
When I'm successful, I'll actually say to the person that I actually need to take a second and I need to excuse myself and walk away and look at some other wall or something else in the house or somewhere, wherever I am. Take a few breaths and just be with what's happening. Mm-hmm. Then I can come back and be a sane, responsive, productive, collected human. If I don't do that, I was raised in a pretty volatile household. My dad is now 70. How old is he? 3, 2, 4. And he's much softer. Everything is much softer now. But when he was younger, it was major. There was a lot of volatility. And so I have raised Jonah up until maybe he was 3 or 4, and now I'm watching, with a lot of that sort of very, very reactive energy. And for me to get past that is a project. And it's the ongoing project, actually. Mm-hmm. And I know, when I talk to people out on the road, so many of us have that, where that was our baseline neutral, was let's fucking fight it out. Let's scream it out. Let's slam it out. Slam a door, slam a drawer, slam it. Look at me, I'm fucking mad, that kind of thing. And now I realize that's actually so antithetical and so counterproductive to everything that I practice every day.
Yeah, but swing the pendulum over to my family, where similar volatility, but the first reaction isn't to fight, it's to avoid conflict at all costs. So then we can see how a pleasing and a fixing mode. So then just don't say anything or tell a lie or suppress and repress becomes the other side of that spectrum. So then learning how to fight has been such an important thing for me to learn how to deal with difficult moments.
Wow.
So almost same, but different, right?
Right. I've learned James is, he's a part of a men's group.
Yeah.
And every few weeks he oversees them and sort of leads the group. And he has taught me so much about communication. He's also a great therapist. And just recently, I stopped hating him for it.
So honest.
And started to actually listen and follow his lead.
To trust your man.
To trust my man, hello.
Yeah.
What's so nice is that he is now really professional in his listening. And so he'll repeat back what I've said, but not in like a textbook kind of annoying, I'm just repeating back what you're fucking saying. He'll say it in his way, and he'll bring a quality of acceptance to it. He's the way you're listening right now with eye contact, and not necessarily all the time, but he's also, and really like there. Mm-hmm. And I have such a resistance to that because I don't want to be taught. And then there's a whole part of me that really does desperately want to be taught.
Yeah.
So I'm finding in this whole piece about communication, collecting difficult moments and trying to figure out where a challenge will teach me how to be a better communicator, I'm learning from James that the most important aspect is just to accept what the other person is offering you, even if it's not your truth. It's what we learned anyway with Handel all these years, with the Handel group. Accept what the other person is telling you without trying to change it. And then offer your side in a way that isn't destructive. And this is, like I said, it's my ongoing project. I have no idea what I'm doing still, but I'm trying my best.
Well, not everybody is believing their thoughts and convinced that their opinion is well thought through and right.
Totally.
But I find in relationship where I'll go wrong is I'll want to be right, which makes them wrong. And now we're on opposite teams. And now there's like a competition or a fight that ensues. For me, in the moments of difficult moments, whether it's a friendship that's changed or a heartbreak or a loss, so the more egregious ones, or even just the upsets or the small conflicts, if I can suspend my first judgment of knowing that this is good or bad, then I'll usually be able to find some perspective pretty quickly. But if I could have, the hindsight, the wisdom of hindsight, life lived in reverse, to see that all of the events that I thought were so terrible and so bad and I so messed up were never that.
Never.
No. And if I could just have suspended the judgment that I knew what was occurring and just let it play out and see what was asked of me, what was being initiated in me, what was wanting to come online in me, how spirit was intelligently moving it, then it would have been so much easier. It's my quick judgment knowing that this is wrong. And I know what should be right. That has always messed me up. And so that wisdom of hindsight, I'm so grateful that life or God always knew more than what my mind wanted. Every man that left that I was convinced shouldn't have. Thank God is better and smarter and more all-knowing, please, than my tiny mind. Because the difficult moments were never what I thought they were, ever.
Right.
And when in any difficult moment were you not so met with grace and so met with an inner voice that was higher?
Every single time.
Every single time.
Every single time. We were just reading also, Seth Godin says that difficult moments will reward patience, nuance, and guts. But difficult moments will not be helped by brute force, ever. And there's a nice reminder.
It's so true.
There's a nice reminder. They require emotional labor. They require approaches that feel risky. And they require methods that might not work. And of course, he's talking about business. But I like to take his work into the land of emotions and human interaction and think, what's risky? What's risky here is me saying to Jonah, it's fine if you want to play your game within reason for a certain number of minutes, certain days of the week, and I'm not going to freak out about it anymore. And this is something that you really enjoy, and let's do a little test and reconvene in a month or so and see. Does it work?
Well, yeah, and then to Seth's point and your point there, it becomes less about what's happening or what's happened and becomes more creatively about what do I want to do with what's happened?
Yeah.
Who do I want to become
Right.
with what's occurring?
Right.
How do I want to shape this?
Right.
And so we're not these passive bystanders to a life that's coming at us. It can be something emanating from us, and we can create with it.
And choosing, like you say, what kind of energy you're running in your system.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and you've never worked with Allie or never taken her class, she often will talk about the sort of current of energy that you're choosing to, quote unquote, run in your system during class. Think about, if you're listening to this, think about what energy you're running in your system right now. Probably, if you're listening to this, you're running a nice receptivity, a nice willingness to learn. Probably you're, considering a few things in your life that might need to welcome a different response from you. You might want to take some notes about those. I'm pretty sure I'm going to invite people to take notes in every single day podcast because I think it's worth it. I know I take notes every time I listen to somebody. And I was thinking when we were talking earlier, the idea of choosing what energy you're running, you mentioned something really erudite, which is with what are you identifying in this difficult moment? Which I think is what you were just speaking to, but it's a nice way to reframe it also. With what are you identifying? Are you identifying with the fact that you're not getting what you want? Are you identifying with the fact that this person is getting away with something? Like, what are you identifying with, and how are you going to respond accordingly?
Yeah, exactly. And I've been thinking a lot about, for myself, this concept of flexible identities and fixed identities. And so fixed identities for me are friend and daughter and sister and student and
Dude, this is going to be good.
Okay.
This is good.
And then the flexible identities are the ones that are up for initiation, so things change and we become mothers, or you become single, or you become a widow, or you become promoted, these things that shift. And what I've noticed in myself is that I made my fixed identities, I made them about what happened to me. So I was left, I was abandoned, I was abused. Those became my identities. But if I look at collecting difficult moments, what becomes more of an identifier for me and for people that I see that really want to imagine with it, is it's not the identity we have with what happened to us, but it's so much more informative with our identity of what we did with what happened to us. So I was left and I chose to love myself more.
Yep.
I was abandoned and I chose not to abandon. And so it's in what we choose to do with what happens that we see so much more of who we actually are, not just what happened to us. But that's the side of the story that rarely gets told, like what we did with it, who we helped from it, how we healed it, what we forgave about it. That's so much more of an identity than just what happened. But I find I will anchor into I am worthless because, I am unchosen because. But that's not real identity.
No.
What we do with it is so much more informative.
I'm going to donate to a charity for each person that I interview when I do interviews.
Okay.
Do you want to pick it now, off the cuff, or do you want to tell me later?
Well, this will be time sensitive because I don't know when this is being aired.
It'll be like January 2019.
Why don't we keep it going to the Navajo Water Project that we had donated to in December. And yeah, I'm really wanting to be more local because I've noticed a lot of the things I've wanted to donate to are so far and of other.
Yeah.
But we got so much scar tissue on this land and in our ancestry that let's go local.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Navajo Water Project is, you can look it up by looking at digdeep.org. Specifically on my Facebook page until the end of January, we're going to be raising money for it together with you. Elena Brower, it's a public post so you can see it. And it's also a fundraiser on Facebook to make it easier. I have it in a few places, so anywhere anybody wants to donate money, we'll take it. The whole idea of this is to help provide solar power and water to clean water to a certain number of households on the Navajo land in the middle of our country where the need is greatest at this time. When you look at the pictures, it's some of the saddest things I've ever seen, where people are living in like basically wood sheds with no sink and no toilet, and addiction is rife in these places because there's no support. And when I think about, sitting as that 10-year-old with whom we began learning about Native Americans and the way it was romanticized for us, fuckers. It was romanticized. The pictures, I can see them in my textbook, of the white men and the native being so peaceful and joining hands. That was such a bullshit story. And I remember picking up on that lie. So
being on stolen land.
Stolen, straight up. And then the massacre that we call Thanksgiving, the straight up massacre. I'm obsessed with this. I'm not letting go of this.
Can I ask you, I don't want to deviate too much, can I ask you a question back on the work and calendar thing?
Totes.
Did you ever have to get over or heal or figure out a way that when you're not being productive, you'd feel worthless?
I am the worst person to ask this question.
Like when you stop, do you ever feel like your existence doesn't matter?
I don't go so far. I know that it does now.
So far.
No, I know that it does now. And frankly, you should not feel that way because, not that I should tell you what to feel, but you're now a part of this, my business also. We're part of the same business. And when you aren't working necessarily, there's still education going on. There's still sharing going on. There's still movement happening in your business. So it's not, there's nothing worthless at all. But, that's up until now, most of your quote unquote worth and value has been around your teaching, clients, classes, and you're finally, Allie's in a place right now where she's taking things off of her schedule, particularly in the teaching realm, which I'm very happy about. I'm sorry, New York City. I really am sorry. Truly sorry. But what's fun about it is Allie now gets to focus on what it is that means something to her. She gets to focus on also her business. She gets to focus on residual income. She gets to focus on her savings. She wants to buy land. There are things that are going on for you. What I would say, though, is that every time I stop, I, again, am the worst person to ask because I'll go lay on the biomat and make that the action.
Be productive.
I'll listen to yoga nidra.
Exactly.
I'll meditate. I'll do something. It's still a fucking production.
Yeah.
It's still productive.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. So, the next thing I have to do, and I took this note from my teacher actually last week on retreat. He was like, I'm looking around and there's a cafe where we are. We're up on a hill, beautiful hill in the Costa Rican jungle, looking out over the ocean, he said, and I see people walking around this cafe all day with their eyeballs in a goddamn phone. And they're not actually looking at the world out there, just staring off into the distance, letting whatever thoughts arise or no thoughts at all arise. And that really struck me. I wrote it down in my notebook and I wrote stop with a stop sign. Like just stop and stop trying to be perfect. Stop trying to do your yoga nidra. Stop trying to meditate. Stop trying to do it. Just sit still.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even sit still without opening up an art book or picking up a paintbrush or something that's going to lead somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's my next frontier, my next vista.
Yeah, because I find in incessant productivity for me, when I stop, it is a worth thing, but I also have this quiet nagging thought or loud nagging thought that is almost as if everything is always about to fall apart. And around collecting difficult moments, when I look at it, the difficult moments are never that hard. My expectation of future difficult moments are always the most stressful.
Dude.
That if I stop or I stop producing or I stop working or serving, that everything will shift for the worse. That's
Yes.
where, worry and anxiety and panic live. But
Yes.
when I'm in the difficult moment, I know exactly, or my subconscious knows exactly what to do. It's the anticipation of them that paralyzes me.
I get that.
And I think sometimes that's why I just keep going. That's not where I want to work from. That's so counterproductive to what we're attempting to do.
Do you notice that those moments of worry like that have dissipated over the years?
So much.
With your practice?
Oh I used to have to call my mom when I was sick. As an adult woman in my 20s, I'd have to call her when I was sick.
I still want to call mine when I'm sick.
Right?
God damn it.
But I would call her to give me permission to rest.
Oh, babe.
But now it's so much more mature. But it's still there.
It's still there.
For sure.
Yeah.
That I should be.
I say now, thank God we have a meditation practice, because without it, we would still be like
hot messes,
smoking spliffs on the roof.
Hot messes.
Hot mess.
Funny, but hot messes.
We were funny. Oh, we were funny. We still are funny. I have 3 questions that I think I want to ask every guest, but I'm definitely asking them of you.
Will you answer them too?
I will answer them as well. The first, what needs healing right now in your life?
What needs healing is, in a process of being healed, just an unshakable faith in God, that I'm being walked, that we're all being walked. It's so easy for me to empathically feel myself and others in the world and be convinced that this is a broken place, going to broken places.
Yeah.
And I can't heal those big things, but I can definitely work on healing my trust that the Creator and the Divine Mother has this and is walking us and holds this. And I just keep showing up my very best with an unburdened heart. So trusting God and life and love.
I think mine is also a version of that, although yours brought tears to my eyes. Mine is just more healing of judgment. And I've just learned actually that to do that, practical, like here's the step to heal judgment, contextualize what you're judging or who you're judging. So if it's a person, put them into the little barrette and glasses and pigtails and see where they were when they were 10 or 5 or 15 and see why all of this is happening. When you think about anything in politics or any hate group, any extremist, you can look at their childhood and you can know unequivocally why they're acting this way. And the second thing along those same lines is just to get more and more deeply familiar with what the quote-unquote other side is doing and saying and feeling, so that it's not so surprising anymore. I got that cue from Van Jones. He was interviewed by Tammy Simon on her Insights at the Edge podcast. I think I shared it with you. So good.
Everybody should know. You shared it with me and Tony and James.
Right.
That changed me.
If you're listening to this and you really want to take a next step, listen to Van Jones, V-A-N Jones, being interviewed on Insights at the Edge. What a mind, what a heart, what a spirit, what a man.
Bridging worlds, too. Yeah.
Bridging worlds. Yeah. Second question, what's your favorite view?
Eye to eye.
Oh, that's a fucking great answer, dude.
Yeah, man.
I was ready to the ocean. No.
I spent so much time trying to get up and out of my experience and see it from perspective and a spiritual lens, and really I was just avoiding intimacy and conflict and telling the truth. Or then I would go lower than somebody and have to look up at them and think that it was always judgment, and every time I judge, to your point, I'm just pushing me or someone out of my heart.
Yeah.
And when I go eye to eye, and that's kind of on Van Jones's, that's what was so altering about his podcast, where he follows mostly people with alternative views than him.
Yeah.
But being able to go eye to eye and voice to voice and heart to heart, you can't not soften when you see that somebody just believes what they think.
Yep.
With conviction.
Yep. Even if it's not the same as yours.
Yeah.
I was going to say my favorite view is the back side of my son's neck. right where his hairline is on the side, but the back of his neck.
Wow.
It used to be my grandfather's. And of course, anytime I can get there with James, like just to hang out there, nuzzle there. But when my son lets me in there for a few minutes, yeah, it's just like a drug. Seriously.
As a parent, as a non-parent, it's impossible to imagine that kind of love.
Oh, it's just crazy. Although you can imagine it with my Jonah.
Yeah, he's easy to do it with.
You guys love each other so much.
You know what I'm thinking about while we do this? Whoever is listening,
yes,
I feel like everybody needs to do this, because you're one of my best friends in the world, and
yes.
we're together all the time, but we never just sit eye to eye without phones and work and people and just chat.
Yeah.
And
it's so nice.
We have this perceived other, but nobody's here, and it's so healing, and I love it so much.
Yes. What's funny also is that if you're listening to this, and we only have one mic between us, and I hope we're close enough. I hope everybody can hear what we're saying, but the act of not grabbing my phone and not looking at notes is hard.
Yeah.
I've noticed it like at least 5 times.
Same.
It's amazing to me.
And it just keeps going to like deeper levels of intimacy and fun.
Yeah. We have to get better at this.
This is an amazing exercise.
Yes. We have to get better at this.
People should sit with a pretend audience to just be with each other.
I think that's such a good idea. What, third question, third and final, what does prayer mean to you?
Prayer to me means recovering a lost language, an old language, like the true mother tongue, where I think prayer I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist at heart, so I think prayer got taken out of our hands and put into the hands of men and church and things we had to remember and read, rather than like this weird language we have to stumble through to just talk to the part of us that is us. So prayer to me is a place where I have to just humble myself to ask for help and to say thank you, and to remember that, that why prayer is so important for my practice in my life is I love prayer out loud, but prayer said inside, quietly, silently inside, makes me wonder who could listen to my quiet inner place. That place that could listen must be inside of me, inseparable from me. So it instantly is a redirect back to something inside that's listening, that wants to hear what I have to say. So prayer to me is that. It's a language that we don't want to go extinct.
Which provides confirmation, if I may, that in fact the divine is nothing other than, and nothing different from, even though it is higher than, but it's just inside of each of us.
That's so well said.
Dude, you said it.
What's prayer to you?
To me, it used to be a lot of asking and collapsing.
Yeah.
A lot. And now it's more this relaxing. There's an element of asking still, but I know that's not the point. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's more asking as an affirmation, affirming my humility is what I want to say. Just affirming the fact that I really don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't know what to do. And I'm listening.
I ran into this woman in Mexico recently, and she was a Christian missionary. And she reminded me of something that, if I had judgment first, I would have missed how good these teachings were, where she realized there was a point where she stopped praying for her selfish needs and she started praying for God's will. And when she prayed for God's will, she was always praying for the thing that was exactly occurring. Because if it was occurring, it must be the will of God. So then it stopped being a prayer to get out of a situation she was in and to just get right with what was. And that prayer definition to me, redirect, that was everything.
Just get right with what was.
Yeah.
With what is.
Yeah. If this must be your will, Creator, then how do I get right with it?
Listener, you have homework. Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
I highly recommend it.
Hear and map what your inner voice has been saying about difficult moments. And by mapping, Allie and I sometimes map things, and we will make like a we'll take like a big piece of construction paper and just start making a mind map, something in the middle, and then things fanning out to the sides, and then subtexts over on the side in the corner, and then we screw up and don't have enough space for that one.
And then Lena watercolors all over it.
And then we start praying over it, saging it, singing to it, put crystals on it. Hear and map what your inner voice has been saying. Really look at it. Make it beautiful if you want to. Make it scary if it feels scary. Make it real. That may prompt you to write a list of what scares you off of that. But it also may prompt you to write a list of your dreams. So that is always fun to do. And you could do that literally every day. You could do that weekly. You could do it monthly. Other things, bless things more. And 2, ask a couple of people for feedback on how you handle difficult moments.
Good one.
Yeah. Most of the folks who have followed my work for any length of time know that I've taken a big note from the Handel group, and I ask Jonah almost every night what I could have done better today. And sometimes I remember to ask James, and sometimes he asks me, but it's just such a cool thing to ask the people who are closest to you, like, what could I have done better today? Where do I need to do some work on myself right now? And I think that's a good place to land in the world of homework if you want to do any.
And to the earlier point, when somebody offers the feedback at the difficult moment, what will kind of be the salve to the emotional sting that the ego takes is to not identify with the feedback they give you, but identify with what you do with it.
Boom.
So it's not about you being a jerk. It's about how you healed being a jerk.
I'm going to reread what you read at the beginning, if that's okay.
Please.
Again, this is Mark Nepo, and the piece is called Eternal Two-Step on page 33 of his Things That Join the Sea and Sky. What if it's all been misread? What if our insistence on primacy over each other only makes us lonely? What if the clouds we avoid float above our knotted way simply to cry for us, and it's their tears that make everything grow? But all the suffering, you say, all the ways we are so cruel. I have no answer, only this. The instant our life is conceived, our death is written. The instant a darkness descends, the light that will dissipate it is waiting. The two-step that cradles our lives is unseeable, unstoppable. Like surf that rushes in and undertows out, we are made and unmade. The instant we love or suffer, some aspect of the harmony opens, and what has always been comes together, only to come apart. It renews our fear of dying and stirs our want to live. But I will close by saying I am absolutely not afraid to die.
I'm not either.
I'm actually secretly not psyched, because I think about the people that would be left behind, but boy, it seems like such a beautiful process when I watch my mom go through it. The only sad people were us, and she was, I could see her fighting, but towards the end I could see that it was the rightest thing. And I wasn't afraid. I didn't miss her ass, though. Oh, God.
I'm sure.
Judy.
Mimi.
Memes. I think I'll close this by saying don't be afraid to die. And if death does scare you, perhaps you want to hear and map what your inner voice is saying around death and start to, do some research and study Roshi Joan Halifax and study people who are there to usher the dying through in a very beautiful way. Anybody who works in hospice, research. And if death scares you, get cool with it. Meditate, get cool with it. Do Shavasana, do Yoga Nidra, get cool with it, because the opportunity to live a full life without that fear is too good to pass up.
And difficult moments are like a million little D deaths of our expectations of how we thought things were going to go to get us ready for the big D death,
Wow. Little D.
Little D death.
Difficult moments. The little Ds. Dude, I love you.
I love you so much. This is such a joy.
Yeah.
Make sure James and you do one of these.
Yeah, I will, for sure.
Yeah.
I think I think this is the nicest thing I've done in weeks. Even having been on the beach, I'm so happy we did this. Thank you.
Yeah,
I can't thank you enough. Love you.
So much.
Love you.
Love you, people.
Yes, love you, people. Thank you for listening.